Top news of the hour. News number 1. Zelenskyy's ultimatum. No Ukrainian elections without cash from US and EU. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy recently emphasized the crucial need for increased financial aid from the United States and the European Union in order to conduct forthcoming elections successfully. In an interview, Zelenskyy highlighted the ongoing conflict with Russia and the imposition of martial law as key obstacles to holding elections. Furthermore, he acknowledged the country's lack of infrastructure to facilitate the voting process for its 7 million citizens. This article analyzes the significance of Zelenskyy's plea for support, draws conclusions on the current state of Ukrainian affairs, and invites readers to share their perspectives in the comments section. Zelenskyy's request for financial support underscores the critical role that external assistance plays in maintaining democratic processes in Ukraine. With the ongoing conflict with Russia and the accompanying influx of refugees, the country faces immense challenges in ensuring fair and accessible elections. It is understandable why Zelenskyy refuses to hold elections on credit or divert funds from critical areas, such as national defense, to organize them. Instead, he seeks collaborative efforts to change legislation and assume shared responsibilities. This approach reflects a pragmatic stance that requires sacrificing immediate political goals for the long-term stability and development of Ukraine. The absence of necessary infrastructure to accommodate 7 million Ukrainian citizens abroad who are predominantly residing in European Union countries further complicates the election process. Zelenskyy's call for opening polling stations in those regions highlights his commitment to enabling citizens' participation in democratic decision-making. By emphasizing the significance of European assistance, Zelenskyy underscores the shared responsibility that regional partners have in upholding democratic values and ensuring fair elections. The financial cost of holding an election during peacetime is estimated to be around 5 billion hryvnia or $135 million USD. However, the ongoing conflict with Russia magnifies operational challenges and could result in additional expenses. Zelenskyy's plea for aid signals the pressing need for financial support to surmount these hurdles and conduct free and fair elections. It is commendable to witness how the Biden administration and Congress have responded to Ukraine's call for assistance, with proposals for increased aid already on the table. Comparatively, Ukraine's proactive stance in seeking international support distinguishes it from countries that often face challenges to electoral processes but lack the capacity or willingness to request assistance. Zelenskyy's transparency in acknowledging the country's limitations and requesting aid showcases a commitment to democratic principles and reflects a genuine desire to strengthen Ukraine's ties with its global partners. What are your thoughts on President Zelenskyy's request for increased financial support to hold elections in Ukraine? Do you believe that international aid is crucial in upholding democratic processes in crisis-ridden countries? Share your opinion in the comments below, and let's engage in a fruitful discussion. News number 2. U.S. accuses Russia of spy games and intimidation. What really happened? The recent accusations made by the United States against Russia, claiming intimidation and harassment of their employees, highlight the tense and strained relationship between the two countries. This instance revolves around the arrest and charges brought against a former U.S. consulate worker, Robert Shonov, who is accused of collecting information on the war in Ukraine for Washington. The charges against Shonov include cooperation on a confidential basis with a foreign state, which carries a potential sentence of up to 8 years in prison. This accusation, coupled with Russia's state-controlled media's coverage of the case, has prompted the U.S. to condemn Russia's actions as an attempt to intimidate and harass their employees. The U.S. State Department spokesperson, Matthew Miller, asserts that Shonov had provided services to the U.S. Embassy in Moscow in compliance with Russian laws and regulations. Furthermore, Miller suggests that this case exemplifies the Russian government's repressive actions against its citizens, indicating a concerning trend. It is worth highlighting that Shonov's arrest came after Russia ordered the termination of the U.S. mission's local staff, leading to the closure of the U.S. Consulate General in Vladivostok. Prior to his arrest, Shonov had been working at the consulate for over 25 years. According to the State Department, his role was primarily to compile press summaries from publicly available Russian media sources, further raising questions about the nature of his alleged involvement in collecting sensitive information. To add more depth to the situation, the FSB, Russia's security service, claims that Shonov had been providing information to U.S. diplomats about the war in Ukraine since September. The FSB also aims to question two U.S. Embassy employees, Jeffrey Sillen and David Bernstein, who were in contact with Shonov. These developments suggest a possible network of information sharing and highlight the FSB's interest in uncovering the extent of the alleged espionage activities. The release of undated footage showing Shonov's detention, along with published images of him testifying on camera, further portrays the Russian authorities' resolve in pursuing this case. The Russian media's involvement in disseminating these images adds to the growing tension between both nations and raises concerns about the transparency and fairness of the legal proceedings. The implications of this case reach beyond the individual involved, as it exacerbates the already strained relations between the United States and Russia. The U.S. government has made it clear that it strongly protests Russia's handling of this case and their attempts to intimidate and harass their employees. Meanwhile, it remains to be seen how Russia will respond to these accusations and whether they will provide a satisfactory explanation for their actions. In light of these developments, it would be interesting to hear the viewpoints of viewers on this matter. Do you think this incident reflects the deteriorating relationship between the U.S. and Russia? What are your thoughts on the accusations of intimidation and harassment? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section below. News number 3. Kazakhstan's bold offer to EU, more uranium exports after Niger coup. Kazakhstan's top state-run nuclear company, Kazakhstan, expresses readiness to increase uranium exports to the European Union, EU, due to potential supply risks resulting from a military coup in Niger. The recent military coup in Niger has raised concerns over the EU's uranium supply. As the second-largest raw uranium exporter to the EU after Kazakhstan, Niger accounted for up to a quarter of the bloc's supplies. Although the junta in Niger has not banned uranium trade with the EU, the political turmoil has sparked worries about future access to uranium resources. Therefore, Kazakhstan's willingness to step up uranium exports to Europe presents a potential solution to mitigate any supply shortages. While immediate threats to EU supplies seem unlikely due to power plants stocking up on inventory that typically lasts for 2 years, long-term planning and assessment are crucial. Phúc Vinh Nguyen, an expert at the Jacques Delors Energy Center think tank, suggests that EU countries may be deterred from imposing sanctions on Russia's nuclear sector, as some member states rely on Russian nuclear fuel. The coup in Niger might amplify the perception of uncertainty and sway these countries away from discussions regarding potential nuclear sanctions on Russia. Kazakhstan's role as the world's leading uranium miner and its vast share of total uranium reserves, 12%, and global output, over 40%, positions the nation as a viable alternative to Niger's supply. If Niger's uranium production declines, additional investments would be necessary to bolster Kazakhstan's mining output. However, as the EU strives for supply diversification, it may also look towards democratic countries whose values align more closely with theirs, such as Canada and Australia, for future uranium supplies. What are your thoughts on Kazakhstan potentially increasing uranium exports to the EU as a response to the potential supply risks arising from the Niger coup? Do you believe other democratic countries like Canada and Australia should be prioritized as alternative suppliers due to their shared values with the EU? Share your opinion in the comments below.